So here we are, recording a new exercise for you to do. And this is actually one of the oldest recorded vocal exercises in the world, on the planet. It comes from Italy, and it comes from a long time ago. I don't know what the Italian name for it is. My teacher called it smell the rose. So the premise is this, that we are going to learn to take a breath in through our nose as if we have the most exquisite smelling rose right in front of us. Now, I walk around in the park and in the town, and when people's roses are in bloom, I have been known to cross their lawn and go just to smell their roses. Some roses look really fancy, but they don't have a good scent. Like there's a kind of rose, it's more in the wild rose variety that has such a rose smell. I mean, in your mind, if you close your eyes, can you imagine the smell of that rose?
I don't smell flowers.
You do- Well, if you get a box of long-stemmed red roses, they smell very fresh and rosy, but they don't have the scent of rose like this one. So this exercise is smell the rose. And I'm going to explain to you about something about the way God designed us that you probably didn't know. You probably knew that on your tongue there are different places where you smell salt and sweet and sour and bitter and all of that, right?
Hmm.
There's different placements on your tongue for those different kinds of tastes. That's the way that we know to spit certain things out because they're not good for us. We
Okay.
also, we also have in our olfactory senses, we have been created with different places where scent molecules go in so that we know when something smells disgusting, then we back away from that. And like if I'm going to a candle shop, for example, to buy a smelly candle, if you take the lid off and you take a smell, you have to go and poof it out, or else you can't smell the next one.
Hmm.
All right. So I didn't mean to booger on you. All right. So God designed us with in our olfactory um, apparatus, in our olfactory glands, for the smell of the rose to be way back in almost where our tongue meets that part of our nose, like our sinuses, because that's all open. If you look at it anatomically, it's open in,
Yeah.
right? So the rose scent is right at the very back. So this exercise is to smell the rose. And what you're going to do is you are going to inhale through your nose and bring your tongue down and your jaw down. Did you see what I just did? In such a way that the air goes back in there. This is going to accomplish a purpose, and it's going to take maybe a little bit of practice on your part. Oops, I'm knocking stuff over here. But to smell the rose, set your palate, your soft palate, which is almost, if you gagged yourself, back at the back of your mouth, up there, it
Hmm.
sets it high so that it's prepared for singing. Okay? So you ready? 1, 2, 3, smell the rose. Now, so I just let the air out. So that's part one. So try it again. Smell the rose. And you see, oh gosh, I can't speak today. I let the air out with a sound.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's try it one more time and let the air out with just a kind of it's not a hiss, but with a, okay, ready, go. And you will notice that's also where your yawn is. So if you yawn when this happens, you've done it correctly. Don't be afraid of that. Okay.
When I'm singing, I always have the urge to yawn.
So that is your body's natural way of getting your placement for singing of your palate.
Okay.
So when you yawn, let's just yawn. You ready? You feel how open your throat is back there?
Yeah.
That's what you want for singing. You don't want to yawn, but you do. That is the place for it. I have another student that happens to, and when I was taking my singing lessons with my fancy schmancy singing teacher, it used to happen to me all the time too. And I can yawn at will now. So that feeling of stretched, that kind of is in your ears, but it's actually in your soft palate up there.
Okay.
That raises. Okay, so when we learn to smell the rose, we prepare the inside of our mouth for singing ah. And then
Okay.
gradually we don't need to smell the rose anymore. We learn to lift our soft palate. And I confess to you that when I was learning how to do this, I would be driving around in the countryside saying, "Is that what it feels like?" And then I'd look in the rear view mirror as I'm driving. Ah, is that how it looks? Because you have to connect the feeling, or I had to connect the feeling with how it looked in order to get that, because that's the placement you want your for singing, for open singing, and for that good ah sound. So let's try this now. So now we're going to smell the rose, and then we're going to go ah with a sigh down. Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you with me?
A little. I don't fully
Okay, so
understand.
we're going to smell the rose. I'll do it once.
Okay.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to keep the palate inside, the soft palate. I want to keep it raised. I don't want to go ah. Did you hear the difference? Did you hear the difference in sound?
Yeah.
I let the palate flop, and it went ah, and it was gross. Okay, so come with me and try it with me. Ready? Smell the rose. Ah.
Ah.
So that's a good one. So one more time. Ah.
Ah.
Okay, I'm going to end this recording.